Welcome, everyone. My name is Julie Burns, and I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the League of Women Voters to this debate between candidates for village trustee, an elected position in East Rochester. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan membership organization. We do not endorse candidates or parties. We work to build an informed and engaged public who want to participate in government to make it work better. We believe that candidate debates are an excellent source of information for voters in deciding who to vote for. We salute the candidates who have taken the time out to be here tonight. The League has invited all candidates for each office to participate, and we can only have a debate if we have more than one candidate for the office in question. Tonight's debate will be recorded and published to the League's YouTube channel. Everyone who's registered for the debate will receive a link to the recording, and we urge everyone to share the link broadly. So the rules for tonight's debate are as follows. Each candidate will be invited to give a 1-minute introduction to themselves and why they are running. We'll go alphabetically by last name. We will then begin rounds of questions. The moderator will read the question. The first candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond, and other candidates will have 1 minute to respond. Candidates have been asked to focus on issues and to not interrupt each other or to ask each other questions. The moderator has the latitude to award time for rebuttal if they deem it necessary. We will begin with questions the League has already drawn up, but audience members are welcome to submit questions. We will ask as many questions as time allows. As time is drawing to a close, the moderator will call for a final round of statements from the candidates. Closing statements will be limited to 2 minutes for each candidate. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Georgia Gregorio. And could you get the debate started, please? You're going to have to unmute yourself, Georgia.
I just said that's true. I should unmute myself. Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. And we welcome our candidates for tonight. It's Nicole Walton and Melissa Greco Lopez. And they will be candidates for trusteeships of East Rochester Board of Trustees. So one thing I just want to repeat what Julie just said. If any attendees that are on our audience, please type in any questions that you might want us to ask if it isn't covered in our regular questioning time. I think at that point, it's time for each of our candidates to give a 1-minute presentation of who they are and why they felt it was important to run for this position. And we're doing this in terms of, we're taking last names in alphabetical order. So that makes Melissa be first. So Melissa, would you like to give your presentation?
Yes, thank you so much. First, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. We appreciate the opportunity to chat with voters in this format. I'm proud to live and raise my family in East Rochester, and as a lifelong resident, I have a deep appreciation for our rich tradition, a strong sense of our unique qualities, and a passion to generate innovative ideas to move East Rochester forward. I'm running to inject new perspective into how we approach the business of everyday life in our village. What does that look like for East Rochester? It means smart business development that meets the needs of the community. It means implementing a strategic plan that makes long overdue improvements to our infrastructure and the expansion of our recreation and park spaces. It's leveraging public relations to bolster the reputation and maintain vibrancy in our village. And it means creating avenues for our residents to have a voice, share their perspective, and join the effort. Lastly, it means showing all residents that ER is a community where they can feel safe, welcome, and able to build a quality life. Thank you.
You're going to need to stay unmuted, perhaps. Thank you.
Nicole?
Hi, I'm Nicole Walton, and I want to thank you for this opportunity. I live in East Rochester, and I've lived here for over 25 years with my husband and my family. I have two boys who actually work in the village, one for the DPW and one at the Morgan Bird School. And I have a sophomore in high school. So I am East Rochester. This is where I'm raising my family and what I love to call home. Why am I running for village trustee? For me, it's really important to talk about the role of a village trustee. It's the person that makes the decisions at the table, and I need a seat at that table. That table will give me the opportunity to represent people that look like me and others. I want to be a voice, I want to be an advocate, and I want to bring change to East Rochester to make it an even better place to live.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll start with some few questions that are more in general in nature. And the first one is, and we will start with Melissa. Excuse me. What should our village priorities be?
Sure. I think East Rochester has three priorities. I've always claimed ER is a gateway to the East Side, and we are poised for growth. To generate that growth, we need to focus on three things: addressing our infrastructure shortfalls, attracting businesses that meet our needs. I always say we have world-class Italian restaurants here, but we need world-class childcare as well. And policies that solve our problems without burdening our tax base. We need to look at things creatively and try to find ways to meet and address our citizens and residents' needs in creative ways. And so I think those are the three things that we really need to focus on. And the strategic plan that the town worked on over the last 5 years points to those as well.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, so I think I agree with Melissa in that infrastructure is really important. I think our first priority is about building trust and connection. While knocking on doors, what I'm hearing is people don't feel as though they have a voice at the table. If you're not at the table, how do you make decisions? It's my priority to make sure that I'm advocating for the people. Yep, there might not be enough chairs for all of them, but when I show up to that table, I am that voice. Everybody will have a seat at that table to help with the decisions because East Rochester can't grow without the people and their voices and what's important.
Thank you. Many people don't understand what a village government does and how it shapes their community. What will you do to make local government more visible and accessible to residents? Nicole.
Yeah, so I think that's really important. I'll explain that. Part of my role at work is I'm a leadership developer. And so I do a lot of facilitation and making things able to be easily digestible. So what I'll tell you is that for the village trustee, if you're not familiar with what they do, they are the decision makers. They decide how your tax dollars get spent. And so when we make those decisions, it's really important that we're clear with our communication and we go back to the people to talk about how those decisions are made. So for me, it's going to be really important that I'm connecting with the people at their level. Just because I'm sitting at the table wearing this title of trustee, I'm not above anyone. So I want to make sure that I'm communicating where they're at. That means at the youngest level to the oldest level, how do they want to hear the information and breaking it down in simplest terms. I also want to make sure that I'm advocating for what they want. So being an active listener and then bringing back the information. Here's the decision we made, and this is why, and this is how it's going to benefit you. These are the impacts. When you see me, I'm going to talk in real language. Transparency is super important, but meeting people where they're at is even more important. So no fake teacher voice for me. It's always going to be real.
Thank you. And Melissa.
Yes, I think that we need to sharpen and expand the tools that we have and meet people where they are. One of the things that makes Nicole and I such a great running partnership is that we both believe in making government more accessible. There are a lot of easy things East Rochester can do right off the bat, once we're in office. And that just comes from fixing our website. It's full of outdated information, even on our webpage. And if folks are having trouble finding the information that they need on our digital doorstep, how can they go about being successful in the things that they need to accomplish? Where do they pay their taxes? How do they rent the pavilion for a graduation party? These are simple things that we can help do to just improve the usability of our site. And I think we need to meet people where they are. That's hosting forums like this one, virtually or in person. Going and visiting different groups like our Chamber of Commerce or the St. Nick's Society, being visible and accountable to residents. I really believe that East Rochester needs to have a single source of information so that people can trust what they're hearing, and we really can get rid of disinformation and distrust that might be coming about through not having that single source.
Thank you. Well, we know it's not possible to anticipate every issue that's going to come up in the next 4 years. But what I'd like to know is what kind of principles or values you will use when you are making decisions when those issues do come up. And Melissa, would you begin?
Sure. I've had the pleasure of working in public relations and communications for 20 years, and I just finished an executive leadership doctoral program through St. John Fisher University. And both of those experiences have really helped guide my leadership principles and values. I listen deeply and with an open mind. I always speak up for what I believe in, but I make room for people to voice their opinions too. People are at the center of every decision, and our residents should be the most important thing that we listen to. We should be working on their behalf and with their opinions, concerns, and perspectives in mind. We should be accountable and open to criticism as we make those decisions so that we can move forward and act with integrity. And lastly, I really let a combination of data, so the research, what do we need to know about what people want? Who needs to be at the table, what voices need to be present so we can make informed decisions, and sound counsel. Who in our sphere is smarter than me, knows more about the situation at hand? What counsel can they offer us so that the decisions that we're making are grounded in fact and based on best practice? In my world, change isn't arbitrary. It's researched, planned, strategic, and measured so that we know it's successful.
Thank you. Nicole.
When I think about the values, I think it's really important. Integrity is critical. Doing what you say you're going to do and knowing that people are counting on you. So when I think about that word of integrity, at no point am I ever going to do anything that's wrong. I always show up and do the right thing. I'm not above the law, and the laws don't not affect me or apply to me because I have a seat at the table. So when it comes to doing the right thing, I believe in that. I also believe in strong partnerships and valuing relationships. So when we're connected, I'm working at that table for everyone. My partnerships and my relationships are going to help drive innovation and creativity for the town of East Rochester. I'm going to leverage my resources to make sure that I'm always taking East Rochester into consideration.
Thank you. I'm going to just adjust my camera a little bit better because it's been annoying me. There, that's better. Now we can keep going. Now some questions that are a little more specific. And Nicole, you will take this one first. Do you think the village offers sufficient recreation and other programs for its youth to keep them healthy and engaged in positive activities?
Thank you for the question. Because I have a young child, she's not young, I guess she's going to be 16, but she is a youth. I can speak to this because I can benefit from what is available in East Rochester and say that there are some things. I also know that there are some opportunities. And so when I say that, we have a great school system and we also have great youth activities within the town. but I don't know if we have diversity. And what I mean by that is a range of activities for all different age groups. While knocking on doors, what I found was middle schoolers don't necessarily feel like they have anything to do. So if they aren't at the pool or they're not participating in this, then what is what I'm hearing. And so are we looking at everything? Are we bringing the people to the table to see what is something that they want? Or do we just have a regularly scheduled program where we're going to do what we've always done? It's time for East Rochester to evolve and to change and to adapt new ideas. And the only way we do that is by bringing people to the table. So maybe we have a youth advocacy group that says, here are the things we like. This is what we want to see. And then we work to build that plan based on their voice because they are part of the community too.
Thank you. Melissa, please answer.
Thank you. Like Nicole, I have children in a school district in elementary school and in middle school. So I also know firsthand what services are available to the children of East Rochester. I will say that several years ago, we hired a director who handles the Youth Activity Services Center, and she has been the best thing for the town in terms of bolstering those programs. But we do need more, especially for that middle school age level where they've kind of aged out of PTO events, but aren't quite into the high school robust programming yet. And so how can the community step in? East Rochester is very unique in that the school district really is one of the central hubs of the community. It's where a lot of our day-to-day activities take place. So how can we as a town partner more with the school to offer children avenues beyond the playground? We don't have a recreation center. So oftentimes our seniors and our youth are in a bubble in their own spaces, but not always together. And so how might we collaborate with other institutions or build our own rec center to make a more robust community services platform for our residents?
Thank you. All right, Melissa, this is for you. Do you think the walking and biking infrastructure in our village needs improvement?
East Rochester is a walking district, so every child in our school walks to school or gets a ride from a parent or a friend. And so because of that, our biking and walking always needs improvement. It always needs to be looked at. It's a huge priority that the walkability is safe for pedestrians, really of all ages. Last year, what we heard a lot as we've been out on the campaign is sidewalk plowing was a major pain point for our residents, and that the sidewalks weren't well plowed, they weren't well salted, and it was creating dangerous conditions for our children and walkers. And so we as a board need to make sure that our DPW, who works so hard in the winter, have the manpower and equipment that they need to provide the services to maintain that safety at a higher level. And that could be, do we need to hire more folks? Do we need to be purchasing more salt? You know, what is the research telling us we need to do to make sure that the walkability is safe? And accessibility from are our sidewalks accessible? Can you get around in a wheelchair? Are there sidewalks that need to be built or remanned? So we really need to look at the infrastructure as well. And this will always be and should be a priority for our town as long as we are a walking district.
Thank you. Nicole, you may answer.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with what Melissa said, and I think that one of the things is an opportunity for us again is being open to new ideas. So when we think about the walkability and making sure our streets are safe, right now there are things in place that are being done to help with that. But does the community know what the plan is? What street is next? Where are we focused? How are we going to make it safe? When people don't have information, they tell themselves stories that nothing is happening. And that's not good. So I would never say we're not doing anything, but what we could do is do a better job. So my suggestion would be some transparency mapping. This is the next street that we'll cover. Here's how we're going to fix it. Is there something that you see that you want fixed? Let's talk about it and be more transparent and open with the communication.
Thank you. And I just opened up the chat and we still haven't gotten any questions from the audience. So I'll just remind you, you can go to chat and enter your questions and we'll give them to the candidates. All right. So next question. This is going to be Nicole.
Okay.
Will East Rochester, both the village and government and the residents, be able to meet the state targets that became law in 2019 in the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act? Now, for our audience's information, the Act sets the goals to reduce emissions to 40% below 1990 levels by 2030, and then 85% to 1990 levels by 2050. What does East Rochester need to do to achieve these goals?
I think that's an easy question for me. When you talk about it, the first thing that I want to do is know more about it. So at no point am I going to act like I'm the expert. So when you put that question out there, it was interesting to me. And this is what this whole journey is going to be. It's going to be a learning opportunity. And again, I'm going to be at that table as an advocate for the people. So the first thing I want to do is make sure everybody knows what we're focused on. What is this that they're saying that has to happen? And by when does it have to happen? And what does that look like for me? Because I can't say that the town can do it or the community can do it if I don't know what it is that needs to be done. So I think there's a huge piece about education, making sure everybody knows what they're asking and why. And then we could start to say, oh, well, maybe I could do a little less of this or a little more of this. And we can come up with those ideas together. But in order for me to be able to say, here's our plan, we need education first. We need to inform the people of what the ask is, how it's impacting us, and how do we move forward. Once we get the education, so we all have a better understanding, then we can take the approach of, so now what action do we take? And at that point, we go into movement. So it all starts with education for me.
Thank you. Melissa?
I would agree. And I really think to be successful in any initiative that's ambitious as that is that we're going to need to work with our partners at the state and at the county level to make sure that we have the correct plan in place, that we have the resources that we need to meet those standards, and that we have the ability to move that forward and that we're tracking it in the right way. To Nicole's point, education will be key. What does the town need to do as an entity, and how are residents a part of that? I think anytime that we're looking to hit goals such as that, we do need to take a look at what impact it might have on residents' ability to, have a, maintain an affordable home. And so, our policies that we make to meet those goals going to affect our residents, and how can we ease that burden, and how can the state and county help us get there? So I think it's going to really require a lot of strategic partnership to make that happen.
Okay, thank you. And Melissa, this is for you. What are your views on housing issues in East Rochester, such as affordability, code enforcement, zoning, those kinds of issues?
Sure. I think, housing in East Rochester, if you want to live on the east side, East Rochester is one of the most affordable places where you can buy a home for under, $200,000 in this competitive housing market. When I was a first-time home buyer, really East Rochester was the only place I was looking because it was one of the only places I could afford, and I wanted to be close to my family. And so I think maintaining affordability in East Rochester will always be something that we need to focus on. And I think part of making East Rochester an attractive place for, families to live in for first-time home buyers is to make sure that we have a bustling economic development plan and the entities that they need to be successful here as residents. When it comes to code and zoning, I think we can be really creative with how our codes can help folks buy homes and have homes that, that they feel proud of, and have access to grants that can help them maintain their properties. I think that's really important here. A lot of what we've heard from residents is a desire to have properties that they can feel proud of, that we have public works that help them, with things like plowing and, trash refuse. We're very, very lucky that we have a DPW that provides services like bulk week, where they'll come pick up a lot of refuse from, our residents. And so I think that we need to use codes and policies creatively. And as a board, we can do that to make sure that folks can meet the code and that the homes can stay affordable.
Thank you. And Nicole?
Can you repeat the question? I just want to make sure that I'm answering it correctly.
Sure. What are your views on housing issues in East Rochester, such as affordability, code enforcement, zoning?
Okay. And so I'm going to go to what I'm learning as I'm knocking on doors. I've knocked on a ton of doors and talked to a lot of people, from homeowners to renters. And what I see as an opportunity for East Rochester is making sure, again, I keep going back to the same thing, we are transparent and clear on what happens here in East Rochester. So I don't necessarily know if homeowners understand their responsibility in homeownership, and what are the codes and what are the regulations here in the village. So when there's somebody that's violating something, did they know it was a violation? Were they aware of what they can and they can't do? I think that's important. In order for people to be good community members, they have to be informed. And so starting with the bare basics of, you now own a home here. Here are what you need to do. Here are the guidelines. I don't think people come and buy a house to be a bad member of community. They just don't know.
Thank you. Thank you. And this will be our last question, and then we'll follow with ending statements. What should the relationship be between the government of the village of East Rochester and the higher levels of government, such as the county legislature, the state assembly and senate, and the federal level? And that is starting with Nicole.
So I love this question because I'm all about partnerships and building relationships. And so I think in order for East Rochester to be an even better place, we need to leverage relationships. And that starts with all levels, right? We can't make all of our decisions based on what we've always done. It can't just be East Rochester having these conversations. We need to leverage our partnerships in order for us to be able to learn what more can we be doing. And so there's towns right next to us that are doing things that maybe we haven't done. When's the last time we invited them to our area and said, hey, let's work together, let's partner? When we look at the state and the federal government, who are we connecting with? How are we making sure that we're getting the most out of what's out there? There's a ton of grants, there's a ton of offerings in which we could be able to make East Rochester even better if we leveraged our relationships and our partnerships. So actively connecting with people, not just when you need them, but bringing them to the table and meeting, just having coffee to discuss what's going well, what's not going well, what are you hearing, what is it that we don't know about? It really is about forming these relationships, building these relationships, and growing the relationships. Because the more people you know and have in your circle, the better exposed and equipped you are to be a resource for your community. If you live in a bubble and you only do what you've always done, you're going to get the same results.
Thank you. Melissa?
Yeah. One of the things that Nicole and I have been saying on the campaign trail is that we are communicators and we are connectors. And I think when it comes to moving East Rochester forward, we really need to forge solid, productive, mutually beneficial relationships with our counterparts at the county, state, and federal levels. And to Nicole's point, we also need to burnish relationships with other municipalities. One of the things we did during Pride Month was invite folks from Pittsburgh to our monthly social and folks from Trillium to share resources for the LGBTQ plus community about what's happening in Rochester throughout the month of June. We learned a lot about what Pittsburgh is doing in terms of promoting their Pride Month and how East Rochester could maybe make something of our own based on what they've learned, best practices. I think that really being able to forge relationships is one of the ways that we can grow and be different and take different ideas and say, how does this fit East Rochester and how can we make that a new tradition for us?
Thank you. That was our last formal question. I don't have any in the chat. So I think we're at the stage where you give your 2-minute closing statement about your goals and where you want to go. And Melissa, I think that would be starting with you.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity to be a part of this forum and share our vision for East Rochester. For 2 decades, I've worked in higher education, helping universities tell their stories, leverage communication opportunities, and build trust with the public. I believe in the power of education so much, I went back to school at 39 to earn a doctorate in executive leadership. I know how to build consensus. I know how to amplify voices, tell stories, and get things done. I'm excited to bring my PR savvy and leadership strategies to the village board to bolster ER's growth, foster collaborative partnerships, and create an even greater sense of pride in our town. Collaboration matters, innovation matters, integrity matters, and I'm ready to serve with energy and creativity and a deep respect for the people and traditions who make this village so special. Governance is hard, serious work, but it should also be energetic, empowering, and spirited. We want to empower the residents to have a voice in what we're doing in the day-to-day business of East Rochester. And as a village trustee, I will focus on, again, creating affordable housing, generating a robust business district, and making sure that people feel included and they feel like they belong and they feel safe in East Rochester, and really reminding everybody why we're the greatest little town in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nicole.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate having the opportunity to share why I'm here. And so in closing, what I want to do is I want to share the story of why I'm really here. The reason I'm here is because I want to make sure that every voice in East Rochester is heard. So I talk about the table, and I talk about the table very often because I'm passionate about it. That's where the decisions get made. And right now, if you don't sit at that table, you might not have a voice. And so when I talk about the table, I want to make sure that I do have a voice, but not just a voice for me, a voice for all the people. So I want to break down the table for you. TABLE is an acronym to me. It's talking about transparency and communication. So whatever decisions get made at the table, everybody is informed why they were made. The A is for advocacy. I'm going to advocate for the people every single time I sit at that table. It's not what I want, it's what the people want. And then the B is simple, it's better basics, because everybody wants great parks, more bulk week, and no potholes. So we'll work on the basics. And then the L. The L is all about listening. And I promise you, I'm going to listen every single time, because I can't possibly be advocating for you if I'm not listening to you. So we're going to have roundtables. We're going to have meet you where you need to be. And then that last thing, the most important thing to me about that table is equity. Everybody deserves a seat at the table, even if they're not on the board. So I need to be that voice. And that equity is so important, meaning that if you can't make it to the table, Nicole's got your back. So vote for Nicole and Melissa on November 4th. We appreciate you.
Thank you. And that concludes our debate. And I want to thank Melissa Greco-Lopez and Nicole Walton for your participation. And we appreciate you joining the debate. And I will thank all of our audience And I'll turn it over to Julie, who will have a closing remarks.
Ricky move, I was muted. Nicole and Melissa, thank you so much for being part of this debate tonight. The debate has been recorded, so it'll be uploaded on the League's YouTube channel within a day or so. We'll email a link to the recording to all who are registered for the debate, and we encourage everyone to share the link widely so that other voters will have the chance to learn about the candidates. We have other debates scheduled too. For a complete list, please visit our website at lwv-rma.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.